Zambia has experienced a major drought in 40 years. The El Nino-induced drought, which has been worsened by climate change, has affected agriculture, food security and livelihoods. The devastating impact of the drought is more for persons with disabilities. This is the story of Lucy Dende of Chongwe. Having lost all her crop, Lucy reminisces over the good old days when her chicken run and piggery were thriving.
This drought that we had this past season was really, really bad because we do what we call in our village seed banks. We take local seeds and we reproduce them, things like beans, sorghum, and unfortunately we lost most of the crop. So we had to start from scratch. Most of the stuff we had to start from scratch. In these past years, I had a piggery, and we had some broiler chickens, and even the village chickens were more than the ones you see now. But because of the drought, we had to sell all our pigs, we had to sell most of the chickens, and some of the production had to stop because we mostly had to rely on what we were growing to feed the animals. And then maybe a few supplements here and there which we bought from agros, but about 80% of our produce on this farm was supporting the animals. So we had to get rid of the animals. But even in the course of getting rid of the animals, we got a hammer mill, because where we were going to produce our food, there was no more electricity. So we couldn't make feed for the animals or for ourselves. So we had to sell off all the animals, and the money I bought a hammer mill. But even though we did buy a hammer mill, still we had the problem of what are we going to mill?
Even the hammer mill business is not yielding much, as most people in her community lost their crop, which means very little grain to grind.
We lost 80% of our maize, grains, things like sorghum, our soya, our groundnuts, and I guess almost everything. We didn't even harvest any beans this year. We only had a few leaves which we dried for future use. And even the seeds, we didn't get as much seeds as we would get on the other years where we would make seed banks. I can say we have lost a lot of crops. We have lost our animals, and I've also lost workers because I couldn't pay them what I was supposed to pay them, because I didn't have anything anymore that I could manage to pay them. So I scaled down from about 15 workers to 5 workers. And even now I'm still struggling to pay those workers because of what happened with the drought.
She is calling on those responsible for causing harm to the planet to pay for the loss and damage so that vulnerable communities can adapt.
Already disability is an issue. It's a big challenge in itself. But with the climate change coming in, it's now a new game altogether. And then I've noticed since this climate change has been happening, my body is fighting to adapt. It's different from the years before where my body would adapt to the weather, and you know that it's cold, so your body adapts. But now it's so hard. It's so hard. And I've noticed I'm now taking twice as much meds than I used to because of the weather. So it's really, really tough. When you go to the public hospitals, they usually don't have specialized medication for my condition. So everything has to be prescribed. And then things like, because I'm on a catheter, and I've noticed that here in Zambia, we don't have anyone who supplies biocatheters. So I have to get the catheters from out of the country. And then they need a prescription from that particular country, like from UK or America or South Africa. So now I have the challenge of raising money to go to South Africa to see a doctor, and that's the only way I can get 2 catheters, which will last me maybe 2-3 months. So which means my health is compromised. It's being disabled has now become very expensive. I feel that those countries that have contributed to ruining our world, yeah, there should be some sort of compensation to countries which do not contribute so much damage to the environment, because really it's not our fault. The people in power should think about that, I don't know how they'll do it. I don't know much of how that goes, but compensation it's due. It's due. Yeah, it's something that has to be put on the table and discussed by our leaders.
Now, during COP28, countries agreed to the operationalization of the Loss and Damage Fund, meant to assist the vulnerable countries who suffer from climate-induced disasters. The real impact and implementation of the fund, coupled with fulfillment of financial obligations from the global north, is yet to be seen. For now, Lucy Dende can only hope, and hope for the best. Mwiikisa for Climate Check in Chongwe.